In the words of Frank Zappa, jazz isn't dead, it just smells funny. What's up everyone, CJ here, hope you're all doing well. Now, whatever your stance on jazz may be, jazz is one of the biggest cornerstones of contemporary music. And more importantly, it's the foundation of the drum set. We wouldn't have the music we have today without jazz. Now, this is not a music history lesson, this is a drum lesson. But if you were to Google something in the likes of music family tree, you'll find a lot of info on, how modern music has evolved from the blues and jazz of the early 1900s. I myself, I love jazz. I grew up listening to a lot of my dad's jazz records, and believe it or not, I actually used to play in a big band and my very own jazz band. I'm definitely not a jazz drummer. I don't play jazz that much anymore, but nevertheless, I think every aspiring drummer out there should at least learn the basics of playing jazz. Because you can come a long way of just playing the basics if you're ever hired for a jazz gig. Let's get on with the lesson. But before we start, all my channel members out there can download everything from this lesson via the link in the community tab. So if you would like some extra bonus content, consider joining the channel membership. I'm gonna start off by explaining some of the dynamics of jazz drumming, but if you want to get to the actual drumming part already, you'll see the timestamps in the video. Okay, so when we play rock, pop, or metal, or whatever mainstream genre really, you can imagine the dynamic spectrum of the drums as a pyramid, divided into 3 parts, where on top you have the least audible parts of the drums, and on the bottom you have the loudest parts. So on the top you have the cymbals, in the middle you have the toms, and on the bottom you have the snare drum and kick drum. Honestly though, mostly in today's music where most of the drums are programmed and compressed to absolute shit with no dynamics, you can basically put the parts of the drums inside of a square. Yeah, I know, you can just go ahead and insert the old man yells at cloud meme right here. Anyway, when it comes to jazz, the pyramid is inverted. So now the cymbals, mainly the ride and the hi-hat, are the loudest. The snare drum and the toms are somewhere in the middle, and the bass drum is fairly quiet. Okay, so now that you have some understanding about the dynamics of jazz drumming, let's get to the actual drum groove. Alright, I'm gonna demonstrate this groove on my drum set. And no, this drum set is not tuned like a jazz drum set. But honestly, if you're just gonna practice jazz on the drums, it doesn't really matter how your drums are tuned or what shell sizes you have. The important thing is that you apply the dynamics as well as you can. Let's start with the pattern on the ride cymbal. So right here I have my 22-inch Paiste Masters dark ride, which has a dark tone and is slightly dry. For some jazz genres, the drier the ride, the better. But if you, for example, have a very pingy ride, you can just mod it with some tape. You can tape it underneath the cymbal, or you can get these cymbal tuners that I've got from Meinl. Not a sponsor, I bought these a few years ago. They're designed by Benny Greb, and they're pretty cool, because you can just put them on the ride cymbal, because they're magnetic. And they'll dampen the overtones from the cymbal and make it sound drier. But again, use whatever ride cymbal you've got. The ride cymbal is the driving force of jazz, and you're playing a swing pattern, which, just like the shuffle, is based off of triplets. So what you're playing on the ride is 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1. This is not a straight pattern, and as you can see in the transcriptions, you'll see 2/8 notes equals 1/4 note and 1/8 note inside of a triplet. This indicates the swing feel in every 1/8 note grouping. In other transcripts, it can also just say the word swing as the indicator. Anyway, let's try the swing pattern on the ride at a slow tempo, and we'll gradually increase the speed. Okay, now we have to incorporate the hi-hat. The hi-hat plays what's called the chick, which is when you stomp the hi-hat, and you do that on beat 2 and 4. Let's add the hi-hat together with the ride cymbal. Awesome, you guys. If you can play that in various tempos, you can basically get through any jazz song. Now let's add the bass drum. It's important here to not play your bass drum too hard, so play with your heel down and gently play the bass drum pedal, like you're playing a feather. Depending on the bass drum beater that you use, if you have a hard beater, you can wrap a sock or a piece of cloth on the actual beater to soften the stroke on the bass drum a bit too. We'll start by just playing the bass drum on beat 1. Here we go. Now we'll add the bass drum on every quarter note beat. This can be referred to as walking bass drum, since this is commonly played as to support the walking bass line that the bassist might play in the song. And finally, let's add the snare drum. Again, since the snare drum and especially the bass drum are at the bottom of this inverted pyramid, you gotta have a light touch. In jazz, the snare drum can sometimes be used for free play ostinato almost. And you often hear the snare drum play the syncopated hits that, for example, a pianist or horn section might play. We'll start simple though and play the snare drum on beat 2 and 4. For this practice, we'll leave out the bass drum for now. Now let's try some syncopated hits. We'll play the snare drum on the end of 1 and the end of 3. Awesome job, you guys. After playing some variations on the snare drum, you can now try to place different syncopated hits between the snare drum and the bass drum while you're maintaining the swing. Alright you guys, that's it for this lesson. I gotta say, I had a lot of fun recording this jazz lesson for you guys. I haven't approached jazz in years, so if you'd like me to show you some more examples, please let me know in the comments. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you're not a subscriber yet, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to stay updated whenever I release a new video. If you want to check out some grooves from different parts around the world, check out this video right here. Thank you so much for watching everyone, and good luck with your drumming. I'll see you soon.